for another episode of The Bald Brad Show, where we break down all the major news you need to know about. And off to a little bit of another rough morning. If you didn't recall, yesterday we had our coffee waterfall 2.0 moment. And if you don't know what the coffee waterfall moment is, many months ago, I forgot to put in the pot of coffee when I was making a pot of coffee. And I went to shower because I always shower before the show. And, well, I come out of the shower and it's just a waterfall of coffee pouring all down my counter, onto the floor, into the cupboards right before the show starts, because I want a nice, crisp cup of coffee that's ready to go. So that happened many, many, many months ago, maybe over a year ago at this point. I feel like you guys would know all about that in the chat. And then yesterday, I moved into a new place, and I guess it's brand spanking new. We're the first people ever to really live here. And the shower drain gets clogged very easily. And so I opened up the door. Well, actually, I didn't even really open up the door. I saw this trickle of water coming out, and I opened it up, and it just here comes the flood. So the entire bathroom flooded. So I gotta clean up that mess yesterday. Then this morning, today, do my whole thing, bada bing, bada boom, set the coffee pot timer. I'm like, cool, all right, we're gonna have a nice cup of coffee. We're gonna have a great show today. Go and shower. Everything went fine. I come out and the coffee's not made. So you might be wondering, Brad, where's your coffee at? It's still being brewed. So at some point, we don't do a show without coffee. That's a rule here. This show does not function without coffee. Okay, we've done it in the past. It's happened twice, I believe, in 5 years. I think we know how many times. I think it happened 2, maybe 3, if I'm mistaken. Maybe 3. That's not how it functions. That's not how we fly. That's not how we roll. So at some moment in time, I am getting up off this chair. I'm going to the kitchen and grabbing my cup of coffee and coming back. Everybody remembers the coffee waterfall. Yeah, as do I, dude. Oh my gosh, it's St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. I don't know what that means. I know there's St. Patrick's Day, but actually, I don't even know what we celebrate that for. I mean, St. Patrick, I would imagine, but I don't know the nitty gritty, the ins and outs of all of it. Alrighty, well, let's get into some news. Enough of me talking. I mean, that's what you're kind of here for, right? We're all friends. We kind of figure out all this stuff together. There's stuff that I was looking at last night. So we're going to go over some, again, the title is Wild News Headlines, and that's what we're going to cover. There's no real theme. The theme is that you still have Iran going on, which we'll get to. The oil prices we're going to get to, and we got new threats coming in, which we're going to get to. So this first part comes from Libs at TikTok. I noticed this late last night, where 40% of New York City housing rentals are occupied by people born outside the United States. 32% of public housing, 44% of rent subsidized units. I am bringing this up because remember how I mentioned that when I was in the process of moving, all these realtors, these agents, everybody kept telling us that rent was going down, and that all of them had the belief that it had to do with illegal immigration, because illegal immigration is down, people are self-deporting, people are being deported, that it's actually causing the prices to drop. So when I saw this last night, it's what I immediately thought of, because it does give a little bit of credibility that if 40% of New York City housing rentals are occupied by people born outside the United States, now that doesn't mean really much, right? Because there's legal immigration that's allowed, and these could be people that are, been living there for 80 years, that came here. So take that with a grain of salt. It's a little bit of a misleading headline. I don't think intentionally, but that's there. Now, 44% of rent is subsidized units is ridiculous. So not, again, as I've always mentioned, it's not just you paying for your own life. You are constantly, through our social welfare programs, paying for everybody else's lives too, at least contributing to it. So no wonder it's hard to get ahead, because as you're trying to chug forward, you have somebody that is, I hate to say it, kind of dead weight that you're trying to pull up yourself. And that's most likely another American citizen, which doesn't make it as bad as what I'm about to say. But then you have 3 other people that are also tied to you as you're trying to truck up this mountain in the mud. And those are illegal immigrants. And they're just weighing you down. So if you ever feel like you can't get ahead, is it partially your fault? Maybe. That's something you have to self-analyze. But the other aspect is there's definitely a variable in there where it is not your fault. It isn't. So we don't have a housing crisis. We have an illegal alien crisis. I think there's definitely, there's definitely truth to an illegal alien crisis. The housing crisis is true as well. But just because 40% are born outside the United States does not mean that they're illegal immigrants. There's probably a lot of them, but the question is how many? Is it 10% of this housing? Is it 30%? That's what we don't know. It could be 2%. So I'm not going to mislead you or do it intentionally. It says the government shutdown wasn't a complete waste of time. It did accomplish something. It alerted Americans that 60% of illegal headed households receive American taxpayer funded welfare. Of course they do. Of course they do. It's just crazy. People don't get it. Why do you think Mamdani wants to build huge new projects? What is this? Pop on the headphones. Let's do it, folks. Here we go.
Our first meeting in the Oval Office, one of the topics of conversation that we focused on was housing. Housing, not only because it was the foremost and continues to be the foremost crisis in New York City, but also because it's a place of immense interest in this moment across the political spectrum. And I knew that leaving that meeting, it was my responsibility to return with tangible proposals for what a partnership could look like in building exactly that in New York City. I'd stood with the president looking at a portrait of FDR the last time I was in the Oval Office, and I had shared the fact that who I believe to be the greatest mayor in New York City history, Fiorello LaGuardia, so much of his success was tied to his partnership with the federal government and how that could continue to be a model in the years to come. And so in working with my team, we sought to answer the question of what could it look like to bring that kind of partnership back to New York City at a scale that's needed to address this crisis.
I get what he's saying, but at the same time, you're the mayor. Like, if anything, more stuff can be done at a local level than it really ever could at a federal level. And if more is getting done at a federal level than a local level, one, that's not how things were created in this country to function. And that kind of tells you the direction we're going in. And then two, what are you doing as mayor then? What is your legislature do? Like, what are the people down there that's voting on this stuff doing? So that's a little worrisome when you have a mayor that's like, well, we want to have a good relationship with the federal government. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. But at the end of the day, local, state, then federal. I mean, you got all the power, bud. I don't want to say, then people, what I've noticed is people is, well, he doesn't really have all the power because it's section code 5C, letter 3. It starts off by saying that he does not have all the power. It's like, come on, you know what I mean. You have to talk in generals, because if you're talking always in, especially doing something like this, in like specifics, you're not really going to be covering much. Do you know what I mean? And then it just gets boring, where the audience is able to read between the lines and know exactly what you're talking about. And if they don't, well, then so be it. But I'm a firm believer that people are able to pick up what I'm putting down and read between the lines on what I'm saying. I don't need to spell out every single thing. I can give you a synopsis and people can go in and do their own research or read between the lines and make connections themselves and figure out patterns and all that other stuff. So there's that, which is true, right? You guys don't want to be treated like you're stupid. And hopefully in the past 5 years, I've never done that to you. I maybe joked around about it, but the whole Nepo leader thing is still popping off here at the White House regarding Iran. I'm not really sure. It almost seems like this is turning into kind of that North Korea thing with Rocket Man. But Trump amplifies claim Iran's Nepo leader is, well, he's gay. Trump's priceless reaction, which we did cover that yesterday, so we're not going to rehash it out again. I'm not really sure the point of it, to be honest. It could just be, typical Trump himself making fun of him. And that's what he does. He did it with Kim Jong-un. He still does. Rocket Man, a little chubby wubby had a bear. Chubby wubby has no hair. Chubby wubby was he? So that's a thing. Now, the one part that I want to get into now that I think everybody's in here for the most part is journalist Nick Shirley released a 40-minute long video on Tuesday alleging over $170 million in taxpayer fraud, which the dude basically looked at the iceberg, right? He didn't even set foot on it. He didn't even really touch it. Alleging over $170 million in taxpayer fraud linked to California hospice centers and daycares registered at vacant addresses. His team visited sites like Gardens of Angels Hospice, which received almost $5 million, despite showing no patients, and Healthy Life Adult Daycare billed nearly $20 million with zero activity. The footage aligns with prior probes, including a CBS News report. So again, I want to say shout out to CBS News, because if you go to the actual report, which I might do here in one moment, kudos to them. This was real investigative journalism that they did. And the website they built for it was really good. Dude, all right, you know what? We got to go to it in a moment. Hold on a second. Let me get this going, get a cup of coffee, and then we'll do it. A CBS News report on 742 suspicious LA County providers and state actions, revoking over 280 licenses since 2022. The issue is that when we covered previously how many hospice centers there are in LA County alone, that's the issue. I think there was like, what was there, 2,800 either in the state of California or in LA County or something like that. And then in the entire United States, there's only like 7,000. And then there was like the majority down one street, Van Nuys Boulevard. So this is, you're revoking 280. Well, what's going on with this 20 and this 5 million? That's $25 million in two places. Look at this. Amid Medi-Cal's explosive growth to be proposed to... Wow. Medi-Cal's explosive growth to be a proposed, I don't even know if this number's right, $222 billion in 2026. That can't be right. You guys fact check that one. Is that right? Did they put an extra 2 in there? Maybe it's 22.2? Whoop. Nick Shirley says, you do realize I'm trying to help America eliminate fraud and waste, right? No need to try and make me look like a bad guy for exposing fraud. People are over it. Start working for people and not against them. So this looks like it's going against Gavin Newsom, I'm guessing. Who is this? Governor Gavin Newsom's press office. Nick Shirley right now. Hey, can I see your kids? Which is actually kind of funny. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, it's Nick Shirley making a good point here that you have a guy that you're not even paying that's going out trying to expose this stuff for you. So why would you try to be beating up a guy that exposed? Now, obviously it's because Nick Shirley's making Gavin Newsom look bad and that the stuff's not being figured out and people are tired of it. The only people that are tired of it are the Republicans, conservatives, independents, maybe some Democrats, but not enough to get Democrats to vote Republican and figure this stuff out. And so we all just get screwed at the end of the day. Just unbelievable. Wow, I could help real kids, but imaginary ones pay more. Damn, that is a comeback right there with a bunch of hundies taped to Gavin Newsom's chest and face. We're always the ones that get screwed. The American taxpayer. So we're going to play a little bit of this. I'm going to grab a cup of coffee and then we'll come back and we'll jump into the CBS news article and then we'll jump into some other news. Let's roll it.
This is the sound of hospice money. Could you just answer the question, what's the need for 1,000% increase in hospice care here inside of LA? Do you have the paperwork to enroll a little boy by the name of Joey?
You don't know what's going on.
Well, it says there's 14 children enrolled here on the state of California. That there is $6,000 per beneficiary. Can you give us any explanation? Where can we open a hospice at? Get the Maybach just like you.
California may have the largest amount of fraud in the country, as California is the state with the highest taxes and collects more money than any other state in America. It is filled with fraud. California's version of Medicaid, called Medi-Cal, has more than doubled since 2022 from $108 billion to a proposed $222 billion in 2026. Their population, however, has not grown exponentially. However, their spending has. There has been 1,000% increase in hospice care in the Los Angeles County. In fact, 1 out of every $10 of home health care in America is spent in Los Angeles. On top of that, their government-funded daycare programs are filled with violations. While they continue to give money to these fraudsters, it is estimated that the fraud in California could be in the hundreds of billions of dollars. In this video, we'll be going face to face with these fraudsters, confronting them as they defraud the American taxpayer out of millions and billions of dollars as they live their lives in luxury, driving around luxurious cars that cost more than $100,000 that you actually paid for. Let's start first by going to these daycares filled with violations that still continue to receive money from the government.
So this is the location of the daycare. It's in the middle of this shopping plaza. A lot of the buildings are closed down or boarded up and have been graffitied. And then you also have just a big dumpster right here with all this garbage, and then the daycare is right there. We're gonna go in right now.
We actually have a homeless person there too.
Oh.
You see that?
There's actually somebody sleeping here right now. Hello? You all right? Yeah. And so there is a homeless man who's sleeping right next to the daycare.
He's like, yeah, we got some trash here, a few pallets. The lady's like, yeah, hey, there's a guy sleeping there. But the thing is, hold on a second. It's not like he was buried in trash. I thought, he would be kind of a little bit under this, sleeping in a sleeping bag, because that's what they do. No, there's a guy just laying on top of all the trash out there in the middle of the open. And Nick did not see this guy. I mean, look how he's laying. Hold on a second.
There's actually somebody sleeping here right now.
Look how he's, I'm in the way. Look how he's laying. He's just, Now, this is common. It is extremely common. Do you know, I've always said how ballsy these guys are in LA. There's a guy off the 101 freeway in downtown LA. And it's when I say off the freeway, you know how like the freeway has the embankment right next to the road. There's like the emergency lane that you could drive, like the highway patrol or ambulances drive down. And then there's like, the dirt, and, sometimes there's grass there or whatever for the side of the freeway. Well, there's a guy that has an office desk set up. He has a office chair. He has like a whole tent get up. And then there's a fence there that he has everything set up with along the freeway, and it has all his decorations. It's like Chinese theme. He has like those Chinese lights. This is on the side again of the 101 freeway in downtown LA. There is so many homeless, you guys.
Hello? You all right? Yeah. And so there is a homeless man who's sleeping right next to the daycare. He's sleeping right here, and the daycare is right there. This does not look like a place where you'd want to bring your child, and it does not look suitable and set the code to be a place where children are enrolled. So they do have some children here. How many do they usually say they have, or what's the story with the children?
The last few visits from the state have said that they have 39 enrolled.
And right now we're seeing about 5 children.
Yes.
They are enrolling right now. It says Medina Learning Center is now enrolling, so let's see if little Joey can leer a little bit here at Medina. Do you have the paperwork to enroll a little boy by the name of Joey? Yes, we'd like to enroll little Joey into daycare.
They have as their backup facility the UMI Learning Center, and the UMI Learning Center was convicted in federal court in 2024 of having 150 ghost kids.
Step one of somebody that wants to actually take part in your culture is they would learn English. They would. If I wanted to move to any other country and I wanted to be fully bought into their culture, their vibe, the first thing I would do is learn their language. You could tell immediately if somebody actually wants to be American. And there's a whole thing, well, Americans are, a melting pot of cultures and races, and of course it is. But at the end of the day, you can't just have a melting pot of cultures and that's the end all be all. You have to have some sort of unifying factor that brings your country together, meaning you have to have some culture. So we definitely have one. Our language is English that we speak here. And so if you want to show people that you're actually buying into the American dream, the American culture, and you want to make this country better than it was when you first came here, then show them by learning the language. Now, maybe that person literally just got here. It's like, okay, I get it. But you could just tell. We might watch this whole thing, actually.
So I want to find out what the affiliation is and why this facility is listed as the backup.
Yeah, can I get the paperwork to enroll a child?
Yes, I can.
Great.
What do you think
There you go.
about daycares being used for fraudulent businesses to receive money from the government to say they're enrolling 39 children, 89 children, and for millions of dollars be going towards these facilities? What do you think about that as you do work in a daycare?
No, it does happen. I've seen it like elsewhere. I've seen it listening to the news. So it does happen. Time to time.
Thank you.
The card that they gave us, this is the licensee, the person who owns it.
And that's so far been the only thing they've been able to give us as to how to enroll a child. And then in the back corner of this parking lot appears to be the playground. Here's a bunch of garbage.
What?
And then right here appears to be
Well, at least
the
that's
playground.
clean-ish.
Some
Except there's a pallet back there that possibly has a nail sticking out of it. But I mean, hey, look, we grew up in the 80s and the 90s, folks. Like we used to, we played with a lot of dangerous stuff. So to me, it's not a super big deal, but it also looks pretty dirty back here. And, but maybe that's what kids need nowadays, a little bit of dirt in their life.
strange things are happening outside this daycare. Whether or not it's fraudulent,
That's not
there
good,
is
though.
a lot of suspicious activity taking place. This right here is
Alrighty, well, I want to get into some other news. That's Nick Shirley going to different properties, different places, checking things out. I want to see if we can get up that CBS report really quick. CBS report hospice. Let's see if that comes up for all of us really quickly. By the way, we got the cup of coffee finally, folks. We are set. We're happy. Thanks, Neil. Neil says the beard is looking good this morning. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. So here it is. We visited Ground Zero for Hospice Fraud, Los Angeles. This is by CBS News. A lot of us are very, very shocked that they actually did their job. So this was published on March 10th, last week. We did talk about it. And they go through, like if you scroll through this, matter of fact, let me give you guys the link in the chat. If you wanted to peruse this on your own time, you'll have it there over at Rumble and YouTube. It should send it out to both. But they'll give you the evidence here. And there was quite a few investigative journalists, I believe, that were a part of this. And what was happening was not only were there more people enrolled than I think there was like senior citizens living in the area or something like that. It says 3 years ago, California, state auditors sounded the alarm that Los Angeles County had seen a 1,500% increase in hospice companies since 2010. This is more than 6 times the national average relative to its elderly population. I mean, it's not possible. Another way of putting that, there is fraud and a lot of it. Auditors estimated LA County alone, hospices overbilled Medicare by $105 million in a single year. The report called out notable red flags, which is the same red flags Nick Shirley's talking about. And what they did here, I mean, look at this. Look at this. You can zoom in somewhere on this, I believe. It's not allowing me. But yeah, you can zoom in. Maybe we'll get there in a moment. They actually flagged all the places for you. There are about 1,800 licensed hospices in LA County alone, which is more than 6 times the national average for the county's senior population. Okay. So as you zoom in, a CBS News investigation found 42%, 742 companies still operate despite having multiple signs that the state has outlined as indicators of fraud. It's all right. They still let Joey do all his shell companies and stuff like that, even though he had the same indicators. Wait, I just want to zoom out here. Did you guys notice something? That it's all, there's a lot of dots here. I'm not saying there's not dots out here. Do you notice in Republican territory, this is called MAGA country down here, if you didn't know. Like Huntington Beach, Irvine, this is all Orange County, right? Mission Viejo. You know, as you start moving down this way, it starts getting a lot nicer. A lot nicer. To the point where you will actually know on the highways when you're driving down, this was probably the 5, I think, right here. And this is the 405 coming up. Yeah, I believe this is the 5. You will know the moment you hit Orange County, the county line, because it goes from trash ridden, homeless everywhere to not like that. Now there's homeless and stuff here. You're gonna get that everywhere because they spill over. But gee, it's weird. It's weird. We'll get in here. Don't worry. I'm gonna zoom in for you guys. Nearly 500 hospices. Look at this. Are operating within a 3-mile radius. 500. And look where it's all at. Hold on a second. Let me zoom out here really quick. Just really quick. This is Burbank right here. This is West Hollywood. So it's slightly above Los Angeles, like downtown LA and stuff like that. So we're going to go in here. Right? Look at this. They give you the street. This is Van Nuys Boulevard, folks. Right here. This stretch of road. There are 137 hospices operating along Van Nuys Boulevard alone. More than half of them show signs the state has outlined as indicators of fraud. There's more hospices than there are Starbucks. This is good stuff. Do you know what I mean? This is the stuff we've been wanting. That's why I always give credit where credit's due, and I want to give a shout out to CBS News for doing this. Not only that, they gave us the buildings, folks, and then they zoom in. Incredible. 89 companies, and they give you the building where it's at on the map. Like you could go there yourself. Friar Street and Vesper, I think it is. It's really hard to read. But basically, Friar Street and Van Nuys. Okay, Van Nuys is a busy boulevard. It's like Ventura. You hear these streets in songs and stuff like that. 89 companies are registered to a single building in Van Nuys Boulevard, and 72 have multiple signs that the state says could indicate fraud. Doesn't mean that there is 100% fraud, but indicate that there probably is. But let's not look into it and just keep operating it. That's a great idea. Yeah. Well, we saw that there might be something, but that was pretty much what we came up with. That's cool. It's just it's wild. It really is wild stuff, and we're paying for it. I mean, Schroba says, so if they know that the numbers are not adding up, why are they paying? You're asking way too good of questions here. You can't ask questions, because once you ask questions, you are now a racist, a sexist, a bigot, a homophobe, all those things. That's what you're called. It's unbelievable. Well, 16 hours ago, we have the New York Post talking about the little-known law that can curb gas prices, but state refuses to use it. Of course they do. We just went over an article, was it last week, that talked about 5 suggestions, and by the way, they were no-brainers, that could bring down gas prices too. They don't want to do it. They don't want to do it. This state imports more gas, I believe, than what they actually refine and do. And remember, they're getting rid of the refineries and doing all these regulations and fees because they want these new blends that burn better and all these other things for the fossil fuel or to limit it, and so that you can bring down climate change, even though they're having these shipments coming in from across the world into the state. Let's just say that all these refineries did close down. You're getting all your oil, your fuel, your gas, however you want to talk about it in context, doesn't matter, from all these places across the globe, and you're bringing it here. I think we do like 70% or something like that as it is. So don't give me this whole thing of like, oh, I care about the climate, I care about the fossil fuel industry to collapse. California had an ambitious plan to curb price gouging and prevent high prices at the pump. But as fuel surges above $4.50 per gallon, $4.50, a 2023 law meant to take on big oil, we're going to get them, continues to remain unused. Oh. The bill, which was authored by former state senator Nancy Skinner and co-sponsored by Attorney General Rob Bonta, allows the California Energy Commission to impose price gouging penalties for oil companies and put a cap on refinery profits looking to capitalize when the global commodity spikes. This is so LA. Jeez, except everything's way too clean. That's what I'll say in this photo. When California Governor Gavin Newsom signed the legislation in 2023, he declared the state took on big oil and won. But 3 years later, the law is nowhere to be seen. Gavin, it looks like big oil slapping you around, bud. And well, to be fair, me too. That's because the CEC voted to table the legislation for 5 years in an effort to boost investor confidence and prevent refineries from pulling out of the state. Oh, okay. Yeah, you're going to prevent them from getting out of here, huh? What are you going to do when they just close down, Gavin? What are you going to do? He doesn't have a plan, by the way. Just a heads up. There's no plan. We used to have 70, and I believe the 1980s, we were at like 70 or something like that. Is 50 or 70, somewhere in that range. I think it was 70. And now we have like 5. Now we have 5. And it might go down to 3 or 2 or something like that. And then we're screwed. The move came after Gavin Newsom directed, was that Siva Gunda, the vice chair of the CEC, to work closely with oil refineries after pushback from the industry and fears gas prices could top $8 a gallon. I was hearing rumors of $10. I think it's like 6 something right now in LA. There's that one place that was over $8. It was like $8.21 or something like that. But I was driving, I saw over 6 over the weekend. Further, I'm directing you as the administration's lead representative on this issue to reinforce the state's openness to a collaborative relationship and our firm belief that Californians can be protected from price spikes and refiners can probably operate in California. Do you see the manipulation here that they're doing? And there is some truth to it, as always. They're making it seem like, oh, well, they're just price gouging us. Why are they not price gouging everybody else around the country then? It doesn't make, because they can get away with it in California and they're not going to be able to get away with it in another state? Why is it everybody else is paying $2 or more less than us? Less than us. Why? So they're just price gouging us, but they don't want to price gouge everybody else when they could price gouge everybody else. It's just us. Oh, okay. No, that's linear thinking right there. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah, forget those guys over there, the vast majority of the other country. We want to just focus on California and price gouging those guys. Oh, okay. Is it happening? Yes. To the extent at which it's being stated, no. They're making it seem like your prices are increasing because of price gouging. I want to talk about all that money goes into per gallon of taxes, fees, regulations, all that stuff. Let's talk about that. Let's also talk about the amount of people, because when there's an increase in demand and not enough increase in supply, prices also go up. So when you have all these illegals roaming around, also taking from the gas station, guess what's going to happen? That's an increase in demand. They drive too. Oh, we know they drive. They also drive nice big trucks, semis that delete people. Yeah, we'll give them licenses. Can't read the road signs. But you as an American, by the way, you will fail that test if you can't read those signs. But boy, they'll be able to get in a big rig and be hauling down the highway and go into other states so that you're affected. Remember, early on, I used to get a lot of crap on the channel for bringing up California politics. And I always said, I bring it up because not only are we the guinea pigs for the rest of the country, but we're also going to impact you guys in some way, shape, or form. Because if they're coming through the border into California, well, that's a nice little doorway to go into the interior of the country. And I remember covering it. And everybody was like, oh, I don't think so, man. You're going to be dealing with this crap, blah, blah, blah. No, sir. Now you guys get to deal with it. And then Joey started flying these bad boys into the interior of the country, and we were covering it. And undocumented planes with body cam footage on tarmacs. Y'all remember that. Alrighty. Well, black gold gushes into California as offshore bill kicks into gear following Trump's executive order. Here we go. Drill, baby, drill. After being offline for more than a decade, oil is officially flowing again through the Santa Ynez pipeline system off the coast of Southern California. There used to be a lot of these rigs out there. There used to be a lot of oil rigs off the coast, and now you don't really see them as much. They're still there, but you got to get those binoculars out and start looking for them. Like, where are you at? These suckers used to be all off the coast. The network, but it's an eyesore, you guys. Yeah, you can't have that. It just doesn't look good. Ah, shut up. Remember how I said not only... It's never an issue growing up. These suckers used to be all off the coast of California. I lived here. My parents literally met surfing. That's how much of beach people we were. They met surfing. I used to live at the beach when I was a kid. These suckers used to be there. Remember how I told you those little horse things used to be in like people's backyards and they're just pumping oil everywhere on every corner? It's fine. Whatever. It's cheap. Cheap gas. We got oil. The network of pipelines, which passes through Santa Barbara County before ending at, Pentland Station in Kern County, restarted Monday. There you go. There we go, baby trail, baby trail. Following an executive order from President Donald Trump on Friday. See, Gavin could have done this, but he didn't, which has been seized on by Gavin Newsom. Quote, this is an attempt to illegally restart a pipeline whose operators are facing criminal charges and prohibited by multiple court orders from restarting. Interesting how he wants to bring up illegal activity for pipeline operators, but he doesn't want to bring up the illegal activity for the hospice centers, the daycares, and all of them still going on, even though they actually have indicators of fraud. You're going to still let them operate, though. You're going to let people operate that have indicators of fraud, be in control of allegedly people's children. No, that makes a lot of sense, Gavin. Oh, he's all concerned about criminals now, huh? All concerned, except he's allowing rampant fraud to happen across the state. The dude's building high-speed rail, but millions, I should say at this point, billions of dollars are going places we don't even know about. The homeless population is just out of control. And he's going after the oil companies, though. Oh, gotcha. Talk about priorities, man. But don't worry. He's probably in another state right now doing a stupid-ass podcast and reading his book to a bunch of people that don't care. God, I'm so tired of Democrats voting for idiots. I don't have a problem with necessarily a Democrat running the state at this point. I just want somebody there that is a normie. You know what I mean? Like a Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk-esque, RFK is a little crazy for me, but I like his enthusiasm, but not somebody I want running the state. Do you guys get what I mean? Like, I am so beaten up that I will take a Democrat, but just a normie, old school JFK style Democrat, middle centrist style Democrat that we all grew up with, that wasn't crazy, right? If you listen to Bill Clinton's, I'm not saying a Bill Clinton type, but a Bill Clinton saying get rid of illegal immigration, all that stuff was normal. That's the point where I'm at. It's like, I'll just take a guy that's like just not as bad as Gavin. Obviously, I want a Republican or conservative, but it doesn't matter. I was explaining this to some people the other week. I think it was my coworkers. I can't remember who I was telling this to. This election for California governor, does it matter? Yes, but not really. And let me explain why. Because at the end of the day, okay, you're governor. That's cool. Okay. Can you get things done? Sure. Of course. Your legislature and everybody else is completely hardcore lefties. You're not going to get anything passed through. You can maybe, stop stuff from happening. Okay. But we're gushing out blood. You ain't stopping that. Jim Flores, Sable's chairman and chief executive officer, underscored the company's commitment to complying with the executive order and put California consumers first by increasing domestic supply of crude oil in California's market by approximately 17%. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you, Mr. President. Truthfully, not a huge fan of having the federal government, specifically the President of the United States, having to utilize executive order to do this. I've said this in the past. I'm not a big fan of executive orders. It's getting into the realm of giving the president of the United States, in my opinion, and you can disagree with this, and that's okay. Welcome to this world. Life goes on. I think the president of the United States, doesn't matter who it is getting a little bit too much power. Now, you could go down to the Constitution and break down the law like he has the power to do this. I'm just, in a blanket statement, I'm not totally cool with all these executive orders, just telling states what they can and can't do all the time. I'm a firm believer that real government happens at a local level and then a state level, then the federal level. Not a big fan of the federal government getting into state issues. I've always been that way. In the same way, I'm not a big fan of the state getting into local issues. The local issues are the things that should be resolved in your day-to-day life that have the most impact on you. Then at a state level, then at a federal level. And you're slowly seeing that change in your lifetime where the federal government's having a little bit too much say in your personal life and what you can and can't do. And that's by telling the states what to do. And then the states are telling the local government what to do. There is a realm of how government functions in that way. I'm not saying there isn't, but I'd like to kind of go back to the old school stuff. That's okay for just a little bit. You know what I mean? Just a wee bit. We also have this. I told you we're getting some Iran news. If we can get rid of these ads here. Jeez, man. Get rid of the ad. I don't even know why it's showing me sneakers. I'm not looking for sneakers right now. Top Iran security official deleted days after goading U.S. and Israel in live interview. Oh, boy. A senior Iranian leader who warned President Trump last week to watch out for yourself. Oh, my gosh. Is this the guy that got deleted? A senior Iranian leader warned President Donald Trump last week to watch out for himself, lest you be eliminated, is what he said. The exact quote is there on your screen. Well, he was deleted in an overnight strike. Oh, boy. Wow. The irony. Man, dude, these guys are just disappearing everywhere, huh? The head of the Supreme National Council, Security Council of Iran, was hit days after joining Iran president and foreign minister in the streets of Tehran at a Friday rally marketing the pro-Palestinian holiday. It's clear they are running out of steam, this individual told a TV interviewer in reference to Operation Epic Fury. Trump's problem is that he doesn't understand that the Iranian nation is mature and determined. I don't think we're running out of steam, my dude. So this is him in the streets, it looks like, walking, taking a stroll. The 67-year-old was one of 10 Islamic Republic officials with a $10 million bounty placed on his head Friday by the State Department's Reward for Justice program. Does that mean, does Trump get this money? In a separate statement, the Israel Defense Forces, the IDF, announced that it had deleted him. The head of the Revolutionary Guard's all-volunteer force in a targeted strike in Tehran. So that guy's gone. There you have it. That guy is kaput. He's finished. That's crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. All right, let's see what else we can get to in the news. By the way, hope you guys are having fun. If you are, hit that like and subscribe button. Hit that like and subscribe button. Let's see what we have here. There's some other stuff I wanted to get to. Oh yeah, there was this thing that happened last night, I believe it was, on Fox News. Hundreds of teens flooded Washington, D.C.'s upscale Navy Yard neighborhood, sparking fights, robberies, gunfire, and what officials described as a juvenile takeover. This is extremely common. More so in the West Coast area, specifically Los Angeles. And this is just, there's no parenting anymore. And this is how you have a fall of a society, by the way. So if these kids were parented correctly, what they would know is that if you were even there, you could be tied up into some criminal behavior that you had no involvement in. And the parenting would have been explaining to them to that, and so they can get out of there. That when you start seeing anything go off like this, you go in the other direction and you leave the scene so that you're not pulled into that, because then that spirals into, well, now you got to go to court, you got to go testify, you got to do all these things just for being around. You get out of there. You have no business being there. And by the way, remember how we all had to be home before the street lights came on? There was no cell phones. That was your cue to get home. Street lights are on. It's almost time. I mean, I remember I didn't have a watch as a kid. I was known to lose watches all the time. That's why actually I didn't get a watch until a couple years ago. I went majority of my life because I knew I shouldn't get a watch because I wasn't mature enough to really, I don't say mature, but I would always lose it. I would always lose a watch. And so I was like, there's no point in me having one. And, you know, so you just go knock on somebody's door and say, hey, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm a kid from the neighborhood. I just want to know what time it was. I want to know if I need to go home. Yeah, something simple like that. Or, you know, when they had the pay phones, you do the 1-800 collect and you'd just yell really quickly, Mom, come pick me up. Something really fast, you know. But you weren't out late at night on a school night like this, you know what I mean? Or even on the weekend. Maybe sometimes, you know, if your parents were cool enough with it. Sad. Just a lack of parenting is just out of control in this country. Ridiculous. Well, there's individuals in San Francisco who include mostly homeless people were reportedly caught on camera getting paid to fraudulently sign campaign petitions with fake names.
Fraud caught on camera after a viral video appears to show people in San Francisco being paid cash to sign campaign petitions with fake names. Senior national correspondent William Lajeunesse is reporting out of LA on that for us. Hi, William.
Hey, Sandra, you know, what I'm about to show you is one reason people don't trust the election system. Long line, mostly homeless, getting $5 to sign election petitions. Not only is that illegal, they're also being asked to commit fraud by impersonating other voters hundreds of miles away.
Hey, what's the line for?
For sign a petition.
Shut up! Don't say nothing to more.
They get $25 to sign a petition.
They get $25?
$5.
$5. Okay.
So the guy who shot this says hundreds signed these petitions. No one reportedly asked for an ID, nor were they told what they were signing.
I get $5 too?
Yeah.
And what is it?
Just sign it.
Just sign it?
Yeah. You ready, ma'am? First name is going to be Carol. Last name.
Yeah, that was the name of an 81-year-old woman living elsewhere. So under California law, the state says it's illegal to give money or other consideration or exchange for initiative petition. It's also a crime to circulate any petition known to include forged names. In this case, they wanted signatures for two upcoming measures, one fighting a billionaire tax, the other pension reform.
Signature gatherers can get paid. That's pretty standard practice. But when you start paying individual people for their signatures, especially people who are down and out in their luck, that's borderline on criminal, in my opinion.
So now campaigns pay about $15 for every signature. So when you do the math here, they're clearing about $25 for every person, Sandra. Now, initiative spokesman says these circulators were subcontractors, not employees. They demand that these signatures now be rejected. No word on prosecution. Back to you.
All right. Wow. William Lajeunesse on.
And that's exactly what I was thinking. Hey, got to spend money to make money. And that's exactly what they're doing. That's crazy. And Michelle, you're right. They don't let us beat the booties of our kids anymore. Yep, because your kids have more rights than you do nowadays. They tell you what to do. Yeah. No, I used to get the big old whoop when I was a kid. I remember that I got to the point where my mom's slap didn't hurt as much anymore. And then I remember one day, because I went by for a while without her knowing. And I remember one day I slipped up And I kind of mentioned like, oh, that doesn't even hurt anymore or something like that. And she goes, wait till your father gets home. That was a mistake, because I actually remember to this day, there was a handprint, my father's handprint on my butt cheek. And dude, that hurt. But yeah, there was a handprint. And you know what? At the time, I didn't like it. But now that I'm older, got a lot of respect for it. I'm glad it happened. You know, at the time, you never want that type of stuff. But you look back and you go, you know what? I get why the guy did that. And you know what? I deserved it, by the way. I deserved it. Sometimes you need a little bit of a tushy whooping. You know what I mean? You'll remember pain. And pain teaches. Pain teaches a lot of stuff. Now, speaking of the discipline, let's get into this. This is a perfect segue into what I also want to get into. California teachers cite discipline problems as survey shows. It's going to drive me up a wall, you guys. There we go. A survey shows at least 40% plan to quit in the next decade. I quit teaching. I got out. And you want to know why? It wasn't so much the discipline that's 100% there. These kids don't care anymore. They don't care about their education. They say they do. It's not about learning for them. It's not about anything. They don't listen. They don't care. The lack of care is what I think mostly drove me out. Is it I felt more as like I'm just babysitting these guys. They're not there to learn. They're not there to get a good grade and try and actively participate. They don't care. They'd rather just be on their iPads watching YouTube and be idiots. Not all of them, of course, but definitely some of them. And the sad thing is that some of them don't even realize that they're an idiot. That's the sad thing. And I've been doing this for 10 years, so I'm not talking like about a specific incident. I'm talking over the course of 10 years. The sad thing is some of them are so dumb that they actually don't know that they're dumb. That's the thing. Like they'll sign up for stuff they just don't even care about. That's what irks me. I remember I used to teach, I've taught this course at different schools, but I used to teach a finance class. And that's the one thing, I think that's the one class that bugged me the most, because it's the one class I cared about the most, because you're teaching people personal finance at a young age. And how often have we heard, even parents say this, you know, they don't teach stuff in school anymore that's actually life advice. They don't teach kids how to do taxes. They don't teach kids how to balance a checkbook and write a check. That's what the class is for. And you want to know something? The vast majority still don't give a shit. Even if it's an elective class. And what does that mean? You have to choose to be in that class. And it's not the most thrilling of content, writing a check, looking how a bank works and all that stuff. So everybody listen carefully. As somebody that's done this and has taught thousands of people, even if you offer something like that, they don't care. And I'll even give you the stat on it. I would say 9 out of 10 students don't care. They say that they will with their mouth. Their actions say completely otherwise. You want to know their action? When you expect them to write a paragraph answer and their answers are 5 words. And I'm not exaggerating. You guys know I don't bullshit you. They don't care. So this whole thing of like, even if schools did offer all this stuff, they don't give a shit. That's what broke me. I'm like, if you don't care, then why should I care? It's not like I'm making a ton of money. I might as well go somewhere else that holds to my values and I can actually progress something in a positive manner than sit in this room and babysit you when you don't care. Why should I care more about your education than you do? So you know what? That's a sad thing. A lot of teachers are leaving and the behavior is just a compounding factor. A survey from EdWeek's 2026 installment of the State of Teaching Report found that 40% of teachers in California plan to retire or quit in the next 10 years. Fox News Digital spoke with 6 California teachers, many of whom have 30 years of teaching experience or a cusp of retirement. Well, yeah, they just want to get that retirement money and they're out. That's one of the only reasons why you have teachers staying in, is because it's the teachers that are banking on that pension. That's all. That's the only reason they're staying in. I know teachers like this that are in that situation that hate it. They hate going to work, but they need that pension. They're so far in, they're like, I might as well do another 5 or 10 years or something like that to get it. That sucks. And I knew that I didn't want to do that. I was just biding my time before it's like, you know, I'm out, because, and mind you, I never opted in for a pension. And if I did, I never was going to bank on it because this state can't afford it. Are you kidding me? I would like to see a shift in attitude toward teachers as an authority. I agree with that. Teachers have, since we are the professionals, the right to make decisions, education decisions, curriculum decisions, rules, and consequences. The problem is what I found, even at an administrative level, like the assistant principals, the principals at the top, all that stuff, they still treat you like you're in school as an educator. It's the crazy. How I picture it, it's everybody against the teachers, basically. Now, are there bad teachers? Absolutely, 100% agree with it. Most of them are not. And the stuff you guys see online, and I've told people this, I've told even Republicans, conservatives, I don't care who you are, the whole critical race theory and these trans teachers and these activist teachers, are they there? Yes. Very minuscule in this country. It's a very, very minuscule thing. You're just seeing it highlighted on people's pages on social media, and it's making it seem like it's happening just, oh my God, the schools are infiltrated. It's not that way. Are there lefties there? Yes. But even there are lefties that keep their mouths shut and they just teach the kids. So try to just have that in the back of your mind of like the stuff you're seeing. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not as rampant as people are making it out to be. Does it happen? Yes. Should it happen? No. Fowler, 63, plans to retire soon after teaching for over 30 years. She started her teaching career. She notices students are becoming coddled more. Oh, yeah. You don't even have to take a test anymore if you're stressed about the test. Folks, you are allowed to retake everything. You don't even have to do anything anymore to start at 50%. So if you don't turn in any of your assignments, you automatically get 50%. You don't have to show up to school. I know somebody that only showed up one time in an entire semester. I have the documented proof. I took a photo of it, not his name or anything like that, just the attendance. Because I figured I would never see it in my lifetime. The kid showed up to school one day for this class. And I went to my coworker who had been teaching for 40 years. He had just reached 40 years. And I talked to him about it and I showed him, I said, have you ever seen anything like this in 40 years? And he said, you know what? I've seen a lot of stuff, but I've never seen that. And I don't think I'll ever see it again. I said, that's why I took a photo of it, because I don't think I'll ever see it again in my lifetime either. Showed up one time, got all A's, B's. I was his only C. And the reason why I gave him a C was because I pretty much had to. Now, nobody told me to give him a C. That conversation would have been, well, what can we do? He's a senior. He's going to graduate. Good kid, by the way. Well, good kid, like nice guy. I didn't have any beef with him. But do I think he should have graduated? No. Not. You don't get to just show up one day and then, well, he passed his test. You mean the same test that had already been passed out a month ago? I'm not going to spend 3 hours making another test by hand for one dude that I'm not even going to be talking to for the rest of my life. Why would I do that? Why would I skip out on spending time with my wife and my friends and all this other stuff to make one kid an exam that I'm not even going to remember his name in like 40, 50 years? Like, who's going to do that? I'm just going to I don't care. It's his life. You got to see. Sick. But they gave him A's and B's in all his other classes. He'd show up for sports. Like, it wasn't that he wasn't at school. He would just show up for sports. How he got to play, I don't know. So anyways, teachers are getting out. I hope they do. And I think there should be a nationwide walkout is what I think. And just watch everybody freak out. If you want to really hold people and make them feel the pain, teachers just walk out. And the whole thing will collapse. Whole thing. Because where your kid's going to go? You got to deal with it. So now it's a company level. Now I don't know if I could show up to work today. Maybe you will. Maybe you'll teach your own damn kids for once. I don't know. But anyways, that's it. You know, I always like to rant and rave about education because it is a major problem. I think it's the biggest one of the biggest problems in this country, because it's one of the problems that not just have short-term negative consequences, but has long-term negative consequences. And that's why people aren't hiring the most recent generations. What is it? Gen Z and Gen X or something like that. The most recent generations, they're not hiring them because of all the problems that are associated with it. Talk to any person in human resources, they'll let you know. If you're one of their friends and you're having like a cup of coffee or something like that, just ask them about it. Hey, what is the new generation like? What do their accommodations look like? There wasn't really accommodations for any of us growing up. Are you kidding me? So just ask about that. Hey, how often are they late? Do they show up on time? Do they leave early? Do they actually put in a little extra work like our parents did, the boomers? Do they really kind of like fight for the company and all that other stuff? Just ask. And you'll get an idea of how this new generation is. And by the way, The recent generation that hasn't even graduated yet, it's even worse. The mental health issues are through the roof. They don't want to work. They don't want to do anything. They just, that's it. And there's an element of truth to that in the sense of like, you know what? People are done bending over backwards for corporations. At the end of the day, you're just another number. And, if you leave, then they're just going to fill your spot and not even remember you anymore. That whole stuff is true. I think there's definitely an element of truth to that. But anywho, that is today's episode. We'll be back here tomorrow, Wednesday, for more of the Bald Brad Show. If you're going out tonight, please be safe. You guys, there are sleeper cells out there. It's unfortunately the time that we're living in. We wouldn't have this issue if Joey didn't allow in, millions of people across the border, plus everybody else coming across the border years prior. Have your head on a swivel. Be careful, crowded areas. Don't drink and drive. You guys know that. You guys are adults, but I always feel the need, just like anybody else, because I care about you, to say that. I'm not going out, so I'm staying inside. With that being said, pray for this country. Pray for Donald Trump. Happy St. Patrick's Day, and be safe out there, you guys. God bless.